What's up, guys? This is the Honest Outlaw here, and today we're going to be doing the full 1,000 round review of one of the most popular pistols of 2022. Today we're going to be reviewing the SIG P365X Macro. The P365X Macro again takes another step in innovation for SIG. SIG has recently came out with the P320 over the last 10 years, then the P365, two of the most influential models of firearms in the last few decades for sure. This one is more of a stab at a full-size P365. Well, sort of full-size. You get the full-size capacity, full-size capability, but with more of a compact size frame. And the reason they can pull that off is because of the magazine technology used by the P365. And we're going to get into that completely. We're going to tell you about all the accuracy, reliability, and everything. But before we do that, I do want to mention my Patreon supporters. I got this gun with the Patreon dollars. Patreon is the biggest supporter of the channel. They help us give you all the unbiased content. If you want to support the channel, that's absolutely the best way to do it. Just go down to the link in the description below. If you're not in a Patreon, YouTube has its own version. Super thanks. People have been using that a ton lately. We appreciate that as well. It buys ammo either way. I also want to mention a link in the description for a local shelter named Iowa. It's the YSS. It could really use your help. It's a youth shelter, so please get out of the link and donate to those kids. And finally, I do want to mention to like, share, subscribe, interact in any way you can. Throw a comment down below. YouTube loves it. It pushes the video, so that helps us as well. Now, the P365X Macro, I don't think it's a secret if you follow my channel that I like this gun. I like it for a lot of reasons, but most of the reason is its size, weight, price to performance ratio. This is a striker fired polymer frame pistol with a 17+1 capacity. It has a 3.1 inch barrel with an included comp, and it has an overall width of only 1 inch, making it very, very slim and very, very easy to carry. For all you guys who carry all the time, know that one of the biggest dimensions in carry that matters a lot as far as being comfortable is going to be the width of the firearm. And not only does this have the width to match, but it's not very long as well, especially considering how much capacity it actually has. You get a capacity of a full-size Glock 17 for around the overall size to weight of, honestly, pretty close to a Glock 43 X anyway. And we'll show you that here real quick. We have a Glock 43 X to do a little size comparison, and as you can see here, the 43X and the P365 X Macro are almost the same size. I saw a lot of videos where they compared this to a full-size gun because it has a full-size capacity, and they said how the gun isn't that much smaller than a full-size gun. Well, I absolutely beg to differ, and you can see with your own eyes. This is the gun I carry all the time. This has a 10+1 capacity. This has a 17+1 capacity. And as you can see, they're almost the exact same height, weight, and overall dimensions. And even when it comes to the thickness of the guns, the P365 might be a hair thicker, but only because of the dot that it currently has on it. On top of that, you're going to get a lot more shootability out of this, which we'll talk about in a second. So we'll compare it to a couple other guns quick. As you can see, now this is a full-size gun. That is a Beretta M9 from Wilson Combat there, and you can see it's significantly bigger, significantly heavier as well. One of the awesome parts about the SIG is not only how small it is, but how light it is as well, with an unloaded weight of only 21 ounces, making it 5 or 6 ounces lighter than the industry standard, which is going to be the Glock 19, as you can see here. This is a compact size gun that is still larger, 5 ounces larger than the X. It's going to be considerably thicker than the X Macro, and it has 2 rounds less capacity. Now, you can put the 17 round magazines in the Glock. Obviously, that's a big perk of the Glock. That being said, they're not going to fit flush like they are the X Macro. Now, we'll throw a couple more guns on the list as well, and one that I'm going to closely compare in this video because they're by the same manufacturer and they're close to the same capability. Not close in price, sadly, but the Spectre Comp, which is one of my current carry guns, I like that a lot, and it is the same width and the overall same dimensions on the slide that the X Macro is, but you only get a 12+1 capacity instead of a 17 round capacity, and as you can see, there is a bit of a difference in the grip there. Now, I like carrying the Spectre Comp because of that, because you don't print at all really with this gun, but you don't really print much with this one either. And finally, we'll compare the Smith & Wesson Shield Plus. This one has a 12+1 as well, and you can see they are similar sizes. Also, honestly, even in grip, because I have the Pierce grip extension on there, that makes the grip almost as long as the X Macro, just because I like the draw better, which we'll talk about later as well. So now that we got the size comparison out of the way, the X Macro is around $700-ish, making it very easy to afford for most people. That's pretty on par with the modern day quality carry gun. You know, the Glocks, the M&Ps, the SIGs, the CZs are all going to be just a little bit lower than that, but they aren't going to include the comp, which you have to pay a little bit of extra money for. Now, the gun does come with two 17-round magazines. It comes with SIG's X-Ray HD night sights. It comes with a Holosun mount or a SIG Romeo 1 mount. Everybody's probably going to put a Holosun on it or something like that. This is the Holosun 507K. We have the TLR7A on there because it does have a Picatinny rail for lights and lasers. Even though it's a relatively small gun, you still have the capability of putting a weapon light and an optic on it, which are force multipliers. We have a pretty decent trigger here, although not as good as the custom shop Spectre, obviously, but you can see it here. About 5.5 pound break, and then the reset is pretty capable. Not as good a texture as I would like, but still not too bad. I wish they would start to put it up here, and a relatively low bore axis with a pretty decent magazine release. Out of the box, the controls were a little bit sticky. That's pretty classic SIG. Even the slide still after 1,000 rounds is a little bit harder to run than a lot of other guns. So don't baby this gun, because if you do, you're going to end up having magazines that are not seated all the way or don't come out of the way. And if you rack the gun, make sure to really get after it. Just simply because we did have some issues with this gun not loading the first round of the chamber. That being said, getting into the reliability portion of the review, we actually had some really good reliability with this gun. 1,000 rounds through the gun. As far as I'm aware, there was no malfunctions, 115 grain and 124 grain. I think we used Federal HST for the hollow point testing portion. We only shot half a mag through it because it's expensive, but it runs like 12 rounds Federal HST, and it ran some critical defense. The majority of the review was done by a Blazer Brass, which was given to us by Manning & Sons. We appreciate that. They're a huge support of the channel as well. And we also ran some Federal 115 grain, and then we ran, I think, some sort of 147 grain, but I honestly can't remember. The point is, we ran a lot of ammunition through it with no problems whatsoever, and I do appreciate that. We did only use the 2 mags supplied with the gun, and both of them were very reliable. As far as accuracy goes on the gun, that's one of the things I am going to knock just a little bit, simply because it didn't seem to me as accurate as the smaller Spectre comp. Now, I think that's because you get a little better texture with that, so you can bite into the gun more, and you get, obviously, the better SIG Pro Shop trigger as well, and that helps increase accuracy. However, as far as a small gun goes, a 365 size gun, it shoots very well because it does have a slightly larger grip, although you are going to have some of the same issues ergonomically as the 365. You're just going to have a bigger grip. The accuracy was great. Accuracy under speed was pretty good as well. We shot this really fast up close, and that's kind of what you want.
Tactical reload.
Part of that is the reset on the trigger. I do actually kind of like this finger groove bump out here because they only did the one. And sometimes when they do a lot of them, your hand doesn't fit very well. But this one actually felt pretty good. And the 365 has a very low bore axis, so you can get right up on the gun and control the gun really well. Now we'll get into the included compensator, muzzle brake. A lot of people called it a muzzle brake. I've heard that. When I think of muzzle brake, I think of side ports that redirect gas to kind of pull the gun forward to reduce recoil. When I think compensator, I think redirecting the gas upward. That way you can reduce muzzle flip. And in that case, this is what this does, so I consider it a compensator. And in that, it works really well. The 365 does have a lot of snap, and this really does help cool it off, in my personal opinion. Some people, even reputable reviewers, don't like the slide cut comp, and I understand that it probably doesn't doesn't give you as much benefits as maybe a barrel cut comp, but it also, for me at least, hasn't given me any negatives either. I've had a lot of negative experience with comps, not blinding you at night, not being loud, but causing reliability issues and causing the gun to get extra dirty, causing timing issues where the muzzle brake turns one way or the other, set screws that fall out, all the fun that comes with comps. You don't get any of that with this guy right here because it's included right into the slide. So maybe a little bit less performance, but a lot less headache as well. I personally prefer this. I'm a big fan of this on the Macro and on the Spectre comp. Huge fan on the Spectre comp because it's even smaller gun, so it controls it even better. The hotter ammo you shoot, like 115 grain, the better this is going to control because its comps are kind of velocity dependent. As far as I'm aware, though, no issues with the comp running the gun, which is very, very cool. When we added the weapon light, also no issues in reliability as well. Added the dot, also no issues in reliability. Sometimes adding a little extra weight on a very small gun, very small reciprocating mass already, you can induce some malfunctions. Had no problems again. Big fan of that. Also, since the cut is made specifically for the optic and it sits so low, I found that it's a little bit more durable as well. We've actually been racking the gun off the Holosun a whole bunch. I just did it in the video, and it retained zero through the whole process of the video. Man, technology is getting better. I like that a lot because if it is reliable, that's essentially a big surface you can use as a cocking lever. So if you are going to use one-handed manipulations or something like that, you can slam this into a door, slam that in your boot, hook this on your belt, whatever you need to do. So it adds a little extra benefit, in my opinion, as well. Now, the slide finish is a nitron finish. It's very similar, or this exact same, I should say, to what most of the finishes SIG uses, and it's very reliable. I have a bunch of different SIG products, and over 1,000 rounds of use. It's been in and out of a holster a couple times. Not a lot of holster wear, and not a lot of scratches on the gun, and I do purposely beat these up just to kind of simulate what you might run into over the course of a year or two process using the gun. That's why we shoot 1,000 rounds through the gun for the review. I'm trying to simulate you just using it daily over the course of a few years, and I think the SIG held up just fine. The magazines worked really well, as I said, for reloads also, because not only does the gun have a longer grip that you can hold on to, but you don't have to adjust your grip at all to reload the gun, which is important. The grip is small enough for me to reach the magazine release as well without removing my grip, and then that makes reloads even faster. So especially with an appendix rig, I felt like the reloads on this were just as fast as like some race guns I have, and I did want to mention that because for whatever reason, a lot of companies don't bevel the magazine well, and if they do, there's lots of edges and stuff in there, and SIG, for whatever reason, does it right. The magazine well should just be a funnel for the magazines because that's what it's supposed to do. The fire control unit is also in this gun, so if you wanted to take the fire control unit out and put it in a smaller frame gun, you can absolutely do that. Again, the big advantage of the modularity of the P365 system. You can literally change all kinds of parts on this, and you can go on their website and a la carte whatever you want, and you can throw it on here. Very, very cool. Takes like the Glock modularity to the next step, and I think that was a huge advantage of the P365 and one of the reasons why this platform has been so successful and why they've had so many variations of it. I mean, this is actually my P365, another P365 I should say that I carry all the time. So you can tell I definitely like the model. Overall, for the price that it is, around $650 to $750, maybe even $800 depending on what state you live in, I think you get a lot of juice for the squeeze. I think you get a lot of gun for the money, and I think you get a lot of performance for the size. So overall, I think this is one of the better concealed carry guns a person can buy. It's simple, it's easy to use, it's low recoil, it's relatively accurate, it's fast, it's reliable. There's lots of accessories and holsters available. Again, that's very important. It's red dot capable, and it's capable to mount a light. So not only could you carry this all day because it's only 21 ounces and it's relatively small, but you can take it home and use it for a home defense gun because it's a 17 round capacity with a light and an optic. I mean, that's literally all you need. I'm very impressed, and I gotta say, this is one of the better guns as far as when I think of if I could only own one gun, this would certainly be in the talking, just simply because it can do everything I need it to do. It shoots fast enough to shoot for competition, although it wouldn't really be division legal, but it also would do great for home defense, ranch defense, plinking on the range. We had lots of fun shooting this. Man, I gotta say, out of all the SIGs I've ever tested, this is certainly one of my favorite. I would argue I like the Spectre comp a little more, but it's also a $1,200 gun versus a $700 gun, and in all fairness, this has a higher capacity than this one does. So it's really personal preference, but for me, if you're getting a do-it-all gun and you keep looking at the Glock 19, you might want to actually take a look at this guy. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please support your local homeless shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.